Hi, I'm George the Weather Dad, and it's time for your weekend outlook. Now, we've been talking about the weekend now for the last week because there's a major storm brewing in the central U.S. and is really going to get cranked up. There was some talk about possibly some heavy snow, especially down in the Midwest and possibly even the Ohio Valley. But as the models continue to get closer to the event, it looks like that may not necessarily be the case. It's going to get cold. It's going to get wet, and there could be a few snow showers, but I think the heavy snow is going to stay up right around the Great Lakes. I'll show you that here in just a second. But first, for your Friday, most of us are going to be well above normal. That would put us here in the Ohio Valley. We're looking at temperatures in the 50s, possibly even lower 60s on Friday, maybe even sneak into that on Saturday. You can see here, the eastern two-thirds of the country well above normal. By Saturday, we're starting to see that changeover. You see the cold air. Those of you in the northern plains, you're going to be very, very cold. It's going to be very windy. You're going to have dangerous wind chills because the winds could be gusting anywhere between 20 and 30 miles per hour for you. This is on Saturday. There's the frontal system. Watch what happens here on Sunday. That cold air really starts pushing its way down to the southeast. Florida on Sunday, you're going to be fairly warm to start the day. You're going to be very wet to end the day. And then by Monday, you're also going to be cooling off as well. Now, as far as precipitation, once again, Friday for most of us are going to be in pretty good shape. That's snow up in the high plains. That's that cold front, that Canadian air driving south right out of central Canada. But most of us, again, will be dry. We're going to start seeing some showers developing there in the central U.S. in response to that next system. Look what happens here on Saturday. The thing continues to increase. It shoots itself up into the Great Lakes. This is snow. This is rain for the most part, but this is all going to change over for some snow. So that's where the wintry weather will be hanging on. Most of this will be showers and some possibly even some thunderstorms there on Saturday. By Sunday, it really blows up. You can see that here. Heavy, heavy rain along the Appalachian Mountains, portions of the Ohio Valley, and up towards the northeast. These are going to be some very strong thunderstorms working their way into the state of Florida. You could be looking at some severe weather, but really drying out across most of the country, with the exception of the Northwest. Now, what's been interesting is, if you remember correctly, most of the summer months, you in the Northeast have been pounded with one storm after another. Well, that has now shifted to the Northwest, where you continue to get all this energy coming right out of the Pacific Ocean, pounding you with heavy rain along the coast and very heavy snows in the Rockies. Looks like that's even going to continue on into next week. Now, we've been talking about the two models about potentially some heavy snow. The GFS model, which is the one here I just showed you, is the one I've been watching for over 40 years. I like that model. I know how it works in trending, but the European model sometimes does a little better job in certain situations. Now, this is the European model, and it also shows this system really blowing up here east of the Mississippi River. But if you remember correctly, last couple of days it was also producing a lot of snow. That has now backed off. It's more in line with the GFS model, which is one I just showed you. So looks like there's going to be some heavy rain, possibly again severe weather in this area. But as far as the heavy snow, no, probably won't see any, but we could be looking at some flurries. And on Sunday, again, it's going to be very windy and very cold for most of us. So here's just a little bit of a side note. I'm going to put out there a Christmas blow-up advisory. If you have them, you may want to consider not putting them up on Saturday and Sunday in this part of the country because the winds are going to be fairly strong from that standpoint. Now let's take a look at next week. The National Weather Service 6 to 10 day outlook showing temperatures pretty close to near normal throughout most of the eastern third of the country, well above normal for those of you in the high plains and even California. Looks like you're going to be warming up just a little bit. Precipitation-wise, it's going to be confined mainly to the central U.S. and the southern, down around Texas and even Florida. The rest of us are going to be drying out for next week. And again, as I showed you, it's also going to be kind of cold. But then it's going to warm up, I think, for the Ohio Valley later on next week. So remember, this weekend we could be looking at some very heavy rainfall, some severe weather on Saturday for a lot of us here in the middle of the country, but certainly getting colder. I'll be back on Sunday with another update. Until then, I'm George, the Weather Dad.